the thing about miracles is that they are actually occurring every day. So let me formally welcome you to this webinar, the Miracle of Love webinar. It's really one of my favorite topics to share about, because I am the recipient of miracles in my life. And one of the reasons I ask people at the beginning of this webinar to share a miracle that they are experiencing is because what happens with miracles is that we don't see them. They are happening all the time, but we don't recognize them as miracles. And I know that might sound like a little bit of a get out. You know, it's kind of like, yeah, but, you know, I want a real miracle. And from where I'm sitting, you know, to have a good relationship, it would be an absolute and complete and utter miracle. Well, I am here to tell you that actually, if you do the things that I suggest in my various trainings and programs, you will have a relationship. You know, I was just remembering actually the other day that I had, when I was in my early 30s, which is a few years ago, and I was going through quite a troubled time at that point. And I was, I stuck on my wall photographs of the kind of relationship that I wanted. Actually, just right by my bedside, I had, you know, the pictures of a couple having a really loving, you know, communication together, and it was a beautiful. They were beautiful pictures. It was the kind of, it had the quality of the relationship that I wanted, and I completely forgot about it. And you know, just the other day, I was thinking, wow, actually, I got that relationship. You know, it manifested in my life. It took quite a few years in my case, but that was partly because I didn't know about miracles, and I didn't know how to, I was so far removed from the place of being in a miracle that I couldn't bring it faster to myself. So is this making sense to you? I'd like to hear from you in the chat, please. Is this resonating with you? It's making some sense to you? It does. Good. Yeah. Yeah. So how many of you are here for the first time today with me to hear me? Okay. Yeah. A few. Yeah. Good. Welcome. Welcome. So my name is Lorraine DePaya, and I have a background in psychology, in healing, in metaphysics, neurolinguistic programming, to mention just a few of the areas of my expertise. I've also have had a career as a professional singer, during which time I got to experience a lot of relationships because I was traveling and I was, you know, single at the time. So I learned a lot about relationships. So as I was deciding where to focus my energies in my counseling career, which is what I do now, counseling and mentoring, I thought actually relationships and the trouble that people have in finding a good relationship is an area that I have quite a lot of expertise in. So I decided that I would focus on that. And in my view, it's, however, not just about the immediate issue of how to get a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, or a wife. It's actually about learning the skills and the process to help you transcend any problems that you come up against in the future. And that's the real value of what I can give to people. Because you know what, in some ways you get that special person in your life that people are seeking. And in a way, that is when, you know, the challenges really start. You know, the getting them into your life part is one part, but keeping a relationship healthy, keeping it, staying happy within yourself, staying at peace within yourself. Because of course, we all have times when we go up and down in our emotions, but being able to stay stable and to bring our best self forwards at all times is really what I help people with. And by default, what happens is that if you learn the things that I teach, then you will end up having a good relationship if that is what you want. So we've all seen, you know, the websites that advertise the 10 things you need to text a woman or a man to make them love you, or how you get your girlfriend or your boyfriend back in 5 easy steps, and how to become irresistible to the opposite sex, which I also teach sometimes. And all of these suggestions, while they are useful, actually, in a way, they're just putting a sticky tape, an elastoplast, over what I would call the crack in our consciousness that has led or is leading to a lack of love in our lives. And without removing that fault, the cause that led that crack to appear in the first place, you will do what I did in my 20s and early 30s, which was to repeat the same old failed patterns, whether they're in relationships or finances or family or health, again and again and again. Does this make sense to you all? How many of you have identified repeated patterns of failure in dating and relationships or in your life? Just like, let me know. Yes, 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 absolutely. New pattern needed urgently. Yes, I know. Yeah, that is really where I was. I can't share enough about this. I was the person who was on my knees. Not once, not twice, but again and again and again. Because of my whole persona, my whole psyche was separated from love. So what does that actually mean? It means that we need to align ourselves with love. And in essence, we need to become love itself, because only then are we able to experience the true miracle of love and keep experiencing it every day. Because what we're after is not just only when we're with our sweetheart, our husband, our wife, our boyfriend, our girlfriend. We want that in ourselves all the time so that we pass that on to everybody that we meet, in our work, in our families, our children. So the miracle of love occurs in our lives in direct proportion to the amount of love that we can hold in our hearts and our minds. Miracles of love are not just about falling in love. It's about actually rising into love and staying in love and having that love with us every minute of every day for the duration of your life with yourself and in your sharing with everybody else. So what we need to learn is to stay conscious and stay in awareness, and here's the key, of our thoughts, so that every time when we go back to our old ways of thinking, we are aware of that and we turn it around. So what happened in my case was that I had inherited, just by the place that I was born, and I'm not going to go into details about my story, but a lot of negative thinking that was quite often just below the surface. I didn't even know that I had it. I didn't even know that that was going on. And it's only as I was brought to my knees and led to search that I began to understand more about it. So how to heal from narcissistic abuse. Yeah, that is one form of where there is no miracle of love in our lives. But it's that there's so many other ways in which love can be absent in our lives. So if you have, and this can sometimes take a while to identify, which is why I'm going to just quickly share with you a diagram of my program here, because this clearly explains it. I need to do a little bit of screen sharing here. We know how to do this. Share screen. Yes, here we go. Yeah, so you can see this. This is a model of the way that I train people. And it has these 6 circles, and notice it is a circle because it's not actually a linear progression. So you can be doing the first circle on the left and the one on the bottom right at the same time, which can be a bit confusing and frustrating for people because, you know, we all want to go like step 1, step 2, step 3. And actually, the circle is a very feminine principle. Or more of a masculine principle is linear. So in this circle, you could see that there are certain parts that you go through in order to heal, to grow, and to reach a place of miracles. So starting with the top left here, if I'll just explain what they're, the connection principles. Now, this is fundamental to my training because I have experienced it being fundamental to my life. And that is that we remember that we are connected to something which is bigger than ourselves. If we think that on our own we have all the answers, we are doomed to failure. You know, we see all the time people in the media, politicians who are the celebrities, you know, who crash when they think that they know all the answers. We have to remember, we have to be willing to not just in our words, not just by doing ritual. You have to actually live this partnership that we can experience with the universe. And you know, it is so fine. You can get so finely tuned in this, so that, for example, when I'm really connected, if I go into a room, say a party or something else, I can feel now the places that I need to go to speak to somebody, or the people that are, you know, on an energetic level. And I'm aware through my thoughts, through my senses, that the universe is interacting with me all the time. And I'm going to just share a quick story, actually, but let me just go through this first. So this is my training that I offer people. And each one of these circles has quite an extensive program that goes with it. And so we start out with the contrast analysis. We start out looking at your history and what you've been through. Then we go through the clearing techniques, which is where we release and let go of anything that may be blocking you. Then we get to your crystal truth, which is what you're really wanting in your life and making sure that's totally in alignment with who you are. And then we have the create processes, which is where we do exercises for you to attract, to create that in your life. And your champions plan is the plan that we put together to enable that to happen. And you know, these are going on all the time on different aspects of our lives. So I wanted to just quickly share this story with you because I was reminded of it the other day. So when I was going through a time of a lot of emotional pain, I was in a relationship that I was very much in love with somebody, and it didn't work out. And I was on my knees, and I started to go to study a Chinese energy healing process called Shenxi, with a Chinese woman called Master I Ping Wong. And she had a center in Zagreb in Croatia. So I went there. This is me, you know, on my path, because I was determined I was going to crack this. You know, I was not going to spend my whole life feeling, you know, how I was feeling then, which was just not very fulfilled, not very happy, very lonely and frustrated, and things just weren't working out for me. So I went to Zagreb and I spent 10 days one Christmas actually with this woman who was phenomenal. And I'd heard that she actually healed people to walk again who had never walked, hadn't walked for years and years and years, and that they had a cupboard there where there were all these walking sticks and crutches that she had healed people out of their off their crutches and enabled to walk again. So I was really interested in this, and I was lucky enough to be chosen to go with her on Christmas Eve. It was to Slovenia. We went in. We drove in. I drove with her. She had a driver, and we drove. Group of us, and she was to lead this healing session, which she did every day, but this was a particular one. And sure enough, in this group in Slovenia that she was asked to offer her healing processes, there was a woman who had not walked for 8 years. And I watched Master I Ping Wong get this woman out of her wheelchair. She had with a stick, but she walked. This woman who had not walked for 8 years. I saw this in front of my very eyes, this incredible happening. And maybe some of you also have experienced seeing this or experienced it in your own lives. That anybody else experienced either seeing a phenomenal healing or had it happen in their own lives? Anybody like to share that in the chat? So please do put it in the chat if you have experienced this. And what I saw, which is what I want to say about a miracle, is that when you actually witness it, it doesn't seem like a miracle. Actually, all that happened was that Master I Ping Wong said to this woman, get up, walk. You can do it, walk. There was such, it's to do with energy. The energy that she brought to that situation elevated this woman, just made this woman believe, even though her muscles were shot to pieces. Yes, she did walk with, as I recall, she did have, I think somebody gave her some crutches and she was walking on her crutches because her muscles had atrophied. The point was that it was the energy transference from Master I Ping Wong, which is beyond this space and time dimension that we live in. So that is why I say that to have the concept of a power greater than ourselves for our journey is absolutely fundamental to being able to create a miracle in your life. So the miracle of love, if that, and this supported my journey. When I saw this, I thought, well, gosh, if that can happen, if somebody who hasn't walked for 8 years, surely I can find love in my life. And of course, I did go on to do that. So if you are carrying thoughts in your mind like, I can't trust, I'm not good enough, I've wasted my life. If you have thoughts about previous relationships like, he did X, Y, or Z to me, this proves that I'm no good. It was her fault. He started it. She started it. And that can be about a previous relationship. It can be from a childhood messages. They are what I would call attack thoughts. And they put a barrier up to us receiving the miracle of love. And in this way, we can block love in our lives. Now, you're obviously not blocking love completely in your life because you're here, and the fact that, you have a computer and you're all sitting somewhere warm and comfortable, means that you have created on the physical dimension the act of loving yourself to a certain degree. What we're looking for now is the deeper love connection that is going to open you up to receiving a relationship. So learning that we are loved and that our purpose is to love is what's going to make you magnetic to attracting love in your lives. And true love is much, much wider and much, much deeper than just romantic love. I know we all want this perfect relationship, and that's probably what's brought you here today. And the companionship, the intimacy, and love is all of that. And it's also much greater than that. It's also being able to admit, for example, that we are wrong sometimes, or being able to hold the boundary that we are right, even when everybody else is telling you you're wrong. It's about being able to find compassion and forgiveness for ourselves and others and life itself when we've been wronged or deeply hurt. It's about valuing ourselves, having self-worth, and learning not to give our power away to people, places, and things that maybe aren't able to reciprocate or value our love, and still hold those people and those things with compassion and understanding and universal love. And this is the central part, really, of what I want to say today to you all. It is a matter of choice. We quite simply have the power to choose to love and transcend our difficulties, or we can choose to stay in a low vibration of resentments, fear, anger, rage, bitterness, criticism, and cynicism. If you sincerely want to change this perspective, then you are the one who can initiate it and activate it within yourselves, quite simply by asking it to be present in your life. So what you can do is you can connect with universal intelligence and ask for it to be present in your psyche, in your soul. So rather than focusing on, for example, our loneliness, our sadness, our sense of lack, frustration, what you can do, it's as if you are speaking to another person. You're speaking to the all that is. You say, show me, guide me. I want to learn. I want to learn how to love. Is this helpful for you today, everybody? It is. Good. Great. Great. Good. Thank you for sharing that. I like to think of the analogy of using a GPS to find our way. You know, some of us have taken a wrong road and ended up in a cul-de-sac or crashed or in a hole in the road and are experiencing a lot of pain as a result of that. So the path is to learn where we went wrong. We need to reset the GPS, get back in the car, and this time we need to listen and watch more carefully, paying more attention to the conscious thoughts that we have. How many people here have some form of meditation or prayer that you do every day? Let me ask you that. Some people do. Yeah, fundamental. It really is. Once a week, not enough. I mean, actually, what we're aiming towards is living our lives in a state of connection, in a state of meditation, to holding the channel open to this partnership that we have with the universe. So I'm going to share one practice with you today that I want to give you that is a useful practice. And it's a kind of a chant. You might want to write this down. It's very, very simple. If you have an area in your life which is, it's very powerful, this, it really works. And I speak from my experience, as well as from my training, and as well as from seeing the incredible transformations that I've been privileged to experience with my clients, with the people who train with me, people who work with me. And this is called the Ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian. It comes from Hawaii, actually. And for those of you who have attended this webinar today, I'm going to send you a brief PDF at the end. If you stay right to the end, I'll send you a PDF which describes it. And I was interested to hear that one of my colleagues, a guy called Joe Vitale, who's American, he was also interested in this, and he wrote about it quite extensively. And I was already using it. And I have found it is miraculous. You know, if you have either a person or a situation in your life that is creating issues for you, problems for you, challenges for you. So, for example, the lack of love, you know, if that is something that you're experiencing in your life, this is a 4-part chant that you can say either to that person, to yourself, to life itself, or to a situation. And it goes very simply like this. First of all, what you do is you say, I love you to it. So you are saying, thank you. I love you for being for coming to me, the challenge. Thank you, because it's making me grow, you know, whatever the situation is. Okay, so you don't have the relationship that you want. You don't have the job that you want. You don't have the money that you want. Thank you. I love you. That's the first statement. I love you. And then the next one is thank you. Say, I love you. Then you say, thank you. Then you say, I'm sorry. This one confuses people because it's like very often supposing you've had something that maybe didn't seem like it was your fault. Somebody wronged you, somebody betrayed you, or the world's gone crazy. There are wars and there's not enough money and there's not enough, everything's going wrong. And how could that be? Why would we say, I forgive you? It's nothing to do with us. At a deep consciousness level, it is, because we are in partnership with the universe. So if we are experiencing these things, it is part of our consciousness. So we need to say, I forgive you. So I forgive life for creating this. I forgive life for the fact that you don't have a relationship in your life right now, or you don't have enough money, or there is a shortage of, in the UK, we've got a shortage of lettuce leaves right now, and tomatoes, so I forgive the universe for this, I forgive. And then you say, I'm sorry, and then I forgive. So the 4 statements are, I love you, thank you, I'm sorry, I forgive you. It doesn't matter the order that you say it in, but you need to say it often. I love you, I'm sorry, I forgive you, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, I forgive you, thank you. I love me, I forgive me, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lorraine, I'm sorry. You say your names, thank you. And you repeat this as a mantra. Even if you're not feeling it, it still works. And the Hawaiian doctor who created this, who started using it, I think it came from ancient Hawaii culture. And, our ancient cultures, whether we are from the Middle East, whether we are from Asia, whether we're from the West, wherever we're from, there is so much wisdom in our ancient cultures that we need to stay connected to and bring forward. And this is a very simple one that came from Hawaii. And I like it because it is very simple. And I like it because it's really helped me, and it's helped a lot of the people who work with me. So there, folks, are a couple of things, at least, that I've talked about today to really help you to create miracles in your life. One thing is to do regular meditation for yourself. I offer meditation as part of my programs, and I can send you links and connect you to all of that. And then the Hawaiian, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Ho'oponoponopono, it's called. So let me go to you now. Any questions that you would like to ask me today? So somebody has shared that experiencing a lack of love in their lives, not being able to meet their ideal partner. Yes. So my what I suggest to people, I'm going to address everybody who's put something in the chat here. So what I suggest to people is actually that you kind of forget all about trying to meet the ideal partner, and you just get on, having the best fun and the best time in your life that you possibly can. Because when we are having the best time and we're really happy, and then we are so attractive, we're so magnetic that that person comes to us. So somebody shared that being a mature person of a certain age, not being able to meet somebody. And so I'm here to tell you that as a mature person of a certain age, that you absolutely can meet somebody. And what I would do with you is I would sit down with you and we would work out a plan for where you're going to go to meet that person. It's something that I'm very good at helping people with. Having conflict with others. Yes. So the Ho'oponopono chant, my friend, when you think of that person, you just want to keep saying, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. In your conflict, whenever that thought comes into your mind, and believe me, it will shift it. The thing you have to notice is, and you have to remember, in another week, 2 weeks, a month, 6 months, think, oh gosh, Lorraine told me that. Oh yeah, it's worked, because we forget. It's like I was just saying to you about at the beginning of the webinar, I was remembering how, oh gosh, I've got this beautiful man in my life. And I remember that when I was, how old was I then? I think it was I was about in my early 30s. And I was so unhappy. So unhappy at that time. It was just before I had to make some really major shifts in my life. I was working professionally as a singer. I was singing in all the major hotels in London. So every night I would have to put on full makeup, the big earrings, the high shoes, and the evening dress. And I would go and I would be performing every night, quite a high profile job. And yet inside I was broken. And inside every day during the day, I would be crying, and I just didn't know what to do with myself. And I wanted a relationship, that's what I wanted. So I got pictures from magazines and, all sorts of places of the kind of relationship. So this is a good thing to do for you, if you want a relationship. I got pictures of the kind of relationship that I wanted. I wanted somebody who was really warm and kind and reliable and straightforward. And I put pictures that represented that actually right next to me by my bed. And I only remembered this today. Well, it was yesterday, I think. I thought about this. And of course, the years went by, and I was started a process of healing, and started doing a lot of the things that I've talked about here today. And I met him, and actually he's in my life now, and he's just beautiful. So it does really, really work. All these things really work. And you can think that that's a miracle. It is a miracle because it transcends the physical world. So, okay, so let's go to the next share here. I don't get an idea on how to proceed for a relationship with someone because they may not be interested, and the mutual respect and contact mostly cease to exist after it. Yes, I would probably need to get a little bit more information from you and talk to you a little bit more about that to be able to really help you. How to proceed with a relationship with someone because they may not be interested. I mean, it depends, where you are in that relationship. And I mean, if you're just at the beginning of a relationship and they don't seem to be interested, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of mutual respect, then I would, walk away if you're not in it. But if you're married to that person then there's going to be things that you're going to need to clear. And that's, again, what I help people with. So one reason that people don't ask for help is because their trust has been broken. And what I would like you to know is that I have been where you are now, and I have gone through those obstacles that you are facing. And it's because I've been where you are that I've created this training, which I now use to help people. Quite often, when people don't have a relationship, they also feel like they don't have money. Quite often those things can go together. And the only thing I can say about that really is that I have had to reach out and take risks with money, and invested in myself again and again and again and again. Even when I didn't have the money, maybe I had to borrow some money just to get to the next level. And it works. It's worked. I mean, I am who I am today. And if I share my life story then with you, then you will, which I've shared a little part today, then you will understand that it is a miracle. Sometimes people say to me, oh, yes, I know I need to change, but it's not quite the right time. I'll do it later. And what I would say to that is it's never the right time. There's never a perfect time. It's never going to be easy or convenient. It's just going to be worth it. Something else is always going to come up. And what I see in myself and the people that I help is that commitment is sometimes very difficult for people who've had a bad experience somewhere down the line, because it brings up all of their fear. And what I will say about that is exactly what you need to go through in order to move your life to the next level. Another thing people say is that, oh, you can get it all on YouTube, which you can actually. There's so much amazing information on YouTube. However, you're going to have to listen to an awful lot of clips, watch an awful lot of videos to get the exact help for you that a good mentor, teacher, counselor will be able to zoom in and support you doing, and who is going to keep you accountable. Unless you know how to implement the material and have real accountability, then you end up just spinning your wheels potentially for another few years trying to figure things out for yourself. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate having had the opportunity to share with you. And I know that the fact that you are here means that you are taking the first steps towards manifesting the relationship that you want, the miracle of love in your life.